Hello, Internet. Welcome back to another episode of Jai and Chill. It's also another season. Joining us today is Ghazala, a bookstagrammer and now a business owner. Thank you so much for being on Jai and Chill with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, and before we start, like I told you in my email as well, this is a funny bit that just stuck onto the show, which is this is the cup that is joining us today.
I have my cup here too. It's full of coffee. Virtual cheers.
Cheers. Okay, I know it's a long time coming, but first of all, congratulations on Alilia. And
Thank you so much.
the first thing that we would like to know is what made you come up with this name?
Ali is my son's name, and Leah is my business partner, come best friend's niece's name. So when we were brainstorming for the names, it just struck us both. We had that moment like, why don't we just use Alilia? Like, why not? After all, it's something that we'd eventually leave it to them.
Mhm.
So why not? Probably they'd be embarrassed when they grow up, but
I'm
I
sure
mean,
right now they are
whatever.
proud. Right now because they are kids.
Yeah, yeah. I would prefer that they'd be proud rather than be embarrassed.
I wouldn't be.
So yeah, we'll
So
see what they'll.
you mentioned that your business partner is also your childhood best friend, and growing up, all of us have dreamed about owning our own businesses with our best friends. How
Yeah,
did you translate that into reality?
it was a very. It was just a coincidence because honestly, I am not even qualified to be in this industry. I'm an architect, and but then I don't know. I've always been more inclined to reading and writing, and I've constantly been into covering events and writing articles and things like that. And it so happened that as the need of the hour was uh, doing more content for like digital marketing and things like that, I started working with like builders for their digital marketing requirements. And my partner, who's also a digital marketing expert, she
Oh,
also started freelancing, and we both realized that as freelancers we have a lot of setbacks. I mean, just the way people treat freelancers is pretty bad, to
yeah,
be very honest.
I
And
know.
so we realized that we need to have some sense of organization for people to take us more seriously. So we're like, let's give this a go and we'll see how it goes. So it was a very spur of a moment kind of a thing.
You mentioned that your business partner is also your childhood best friend, and when growing up, we have all dreamed about having business with our best friends, and you translated that into a reality. How did that happen?
So I have always been, more inclined to read and write. Though I've qualified to be an architect, and my partner, she's a digital marketing expert. It was never a thought that occurred to us that we'd work together at some point in our life. But then we both freelanced, and when I was working with all these builders, for their digital marketing requirements, for their blogs and for their ads, I realized that we had a lot more in common. And we both as freelancers were facing a lot of challenges. People weren't taking us as seriously as they would a company. So we were like, no, we have to make this thing official, to become more to bring more seriousness uh, in the attitude of people we're working with. So that's where it was, very spur of the moment, but the best decision of our life, I think.
That's awesome to hear. And we believe that this was launched last year, right? So was it already in the works before the pandemic hit and forced us all to the lockdown, or did the lockdown make you fast track your business decisions?
Actually, we started in September 2019.
Oh,
So our registration happened then, and we were still setting up everything when the great pandemic struck.
oh no.
And we were just so lost. We were like, how do we go about this? So we were like, the first decision we made was, let's keep it very low key because we don't know what this is. We don't know where we are heading. And we don't want to like take a chance with, this is the first time we're even heading a business. So we don't know what are the odds. So we're like, let's keep it very, very low key and let's take some time and figure things out as we go because this whole situation is new and plus with the pandemic
Yeah,
it
no one.
was quite challenging. Yeah.
Yeah, because no one knew when it would end or what would happen next. People kept thinking that okay, it's for a month, and it just extended to, well, even now.
Yeah, like things have been so uncertain, and as new business owners, we are things are quite confusing as it is,
Yeah.
and plus the pandemic did not help at all.
Oh
We were
yes.
just like, how do we begin the whole process of talking to people and marketing ourselves, and how do we put out the word, especially when suddenly things are just uncertain, like we don't know what's happening and what the future is going to be like. And it had become like a survival mode period, like everyone was looking at survival, and we couldn't go out and tell them like market your businesses when everyone is just thinking of surviving. So
Mm.
that was definitely
Challenge.
some challenge for us. Yeah.
But as you mentioned that it was new, and as business owners, you had to, you still have to actually play multiple roles. Like you are the finance team, you are the business development guys, you are also the content creators. So basically, you don a lot of caps, right? So the
True.
question
Yeah.
is, which one is your most favorite cap to don, and which is your least favorite?
I think being a creative person, I think content creation and the whole ideating bit is my favorite. And the least favorite has to be the whole finance and, the dirty work, as I call it. So honestly, it's too difficult, especially as a private limited. I think this is a tip that I'd like to give people, that
Mm.
before you decide to go as a private limited, you have to understand that there are a lot of challenges that a private limited faces, so you have to be prepared for a lot of maths, a lot of financial jargon and all that. And I am very fortunate that my partner is someone who wants to make the effort to learn these things, and who wants to be on top of her game. Whereas I'm just like, no, don't even tell me about it. And thankfully, we have the relationship, and I can close my eyes and trust her. So that has been like so great for me.
I can understand being able to depend on someone, especially when it comes to numbers.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you said, that your favorite part is the content creation. So, how has that experience been so far? Brainstorming with clients and then getting to watch all of the things you have thought about come to life.
It is amazing. I think the whole purpose of getting into the design industry was that, that an idea, a mere thought, becomes a real tangible unit. And that is something that has been the driving force for us, and I think it's extremely exciting because as people behind the screens, we see a certain end result, which the client may or may not see. But the whole process of convincing them and getting them to see the idea as you see it, and convincing them with the whole thing that yes, this is what's good for us, and all that is a lot of fun. It is a lot of hard work, and there's a lot of coordinating with different set of people and all that. But when you see the smile on the client's face,
Yeah.
and when you see the satisfaction, and when you see the website up and running, or even their social media or whatever it is, the joy is really unparalleled.
That is so good. I can understand that as well. The thing that it's sometimes difficult to convince clients of how you see it in your head because they tend to see it differently. And if they take that leap of faith and they let you execute it, it has
Yeah,
always been that they have liked it.
yeah. I think that is the best part. I mean, it is quite challenging,
Mm.
but having the moment you hear about what the client wants, there are these hundreds of ideas running in your head. I mean, that is the most fun bit. The whole ideating bit is like really the fun of it all.
Yeah. So speaking about Alilia, you offer a truly unique set of services. Like we were going through the website, and then there's content generation, digital marketing, graphic design, visual content, and PR. So, what made you guys zero in on these areas of expertise?
Now, that is again, we basically clubbed the expertise of both the people in question. And again, it was also that we wanted to we wanted to offer end-to-end services so that the person did not have to run helter-skelter to find a developer or to find a graphic designer or to find a photographer. And somewhere, when very different people come together, it's quite difficult for everyone to align with one idea. Different creative people coming together are going to come up with different ideas. So it's going to be very, very difficult for us to all come to a consent that, this thing is good. So we decided that we needed to have a team of our own who offered all these services, because then the coordination, the way things would move would be much smoother, and we'd all be on the same page, because as a team we had to be on the same page. We don't have a choice. Whereas if you are different consultants, there are going to be tips and differences, and ultimately that's not good for the brand. So yeah. So and I realized that we realized that a lot of customers were unaware of a lot of things. Like, they did not know that when you're talking about website development, it's just not coding and the technical stuff. There is content, there is design, there's graphics, there's a lot more that's involved rather than just a developer. So, and they did not have any resources to find these people. So we were like, no, let's offer all these things so that it's a wholesome package.
It's also pretty uncommon to have both online and offline marketing services at the same place. That's why people have two different agencies. So was that one of the key motivators for Alilia as well? Because you do offer offline services as well, right?
Yeah, we do. And I think that again comes from our backgrounds, because my partner, she's predominantly into exhibitions, and she's all about, the things that happen on the ground. And she understands the impact that offline marketing has, because she's worked with, very large exhibitions and things like that. And I've worked with a lot of magazines, and I worked with a lot of newspapers and things like that. So I do know that these things really make a lot of difference still, at least till pre-pandemic situation. These whether getting published in a newspaper or a magazine was quite a big deal, for a lot of people. And same thing, having stalls in exhibitions or putting up hoardings, those things really made a lot of difference. So I think somewhere we had to capture those opportunities as well for our clients. So that's again the reason why we offer those services as well.
That is actually my next question to you. So the other thing that we noticed was the events and exhibitions. And now that we live in a pandemic world, so are you now conducting like a lot of virtual events, or have you ever received queries for helping you host virtual events since exhibitions are now
to be
virtual?
honest, when we started, we had a lot of plans for like periodic events, like literary events and food related events and all that. But COVID happened, and sari mehnat pe pani phir gaya types. And but then as webinars became like a big thing during the pandemic, we were on the wagon too, a little late to the party, because we did not want to just have webinars because everyone was doing a webinar. We wanted to really make a difference. So that's when we started webinars on digital marketing and on marketing your business, especially for small business owners. Because at that point, a lot of, I think, the bright side of the pandemic was a lot of small businesses came up, like home chefs and bakers and people who could make things, and all those people started, exploring their talent. And these people can't really afford an agency or someone to market for them. So our focus was to create these events where these people could learn stuff and they could do it themselves. So I think we had quite a few webinars, and we received a lot of love and appreciation there. We had a lot of small business owners who attended them, and they were really, really happy to have gotten, some basics on how they can go about marketing their business online, and how they can at least establish themselves online. So, and then when things eased out a bit, sometime around March, we had a women only networking event, which was a physical event. So again, that was an event where we really had a great time. It was a very small group of women who came together, shared their stories, spoke about their businesses, and it was very empowering and it was very moving. So we definitely want to do more events, but we are not taking the chance because we do not want to take the chance with our health and
Yeah,
well-being as yet. So we can wait it out. And in the meantime, we are exploring all the other possibilities that we can virtually.
that's awesome. I really hope there is a event, virtual or physical, because it sounds amazing. Where people come forward and they share their stories, and you there's something very empowering about sharing stories.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
And finally, given the fact that you have your son and you have a you're running your business full time and you're taking care of your family, has Bookstagram, that is where we predominantly met, taken a back seat?
I wouldn't say those are the reasons why Bookstagram has taken a backseat because it has. It's actually because the platform has evolved, and I haven't. Unfortunately, I can't do reels to save my life. I am not good at, editing those things. I mean, I see a lot of these amazing reels and content created by people, and I don't think I am anywhere close to doing that. The reading is happening, the reviewing is happening. Like you'll see me reviewing on Goodreads and wherever, but I am not that active on Bookstagram anymore because somewhere I feel like I am not in tune with what's happening right now, and it's okay because I still have fun looking at other people. It's just that I'm not cool enough like them.
Oh, that's
So
not true. It's
yeah,
my
so
personal experience with reels. I didn't understand it at first, and then I just studied it a little. It is very time consuming. For that 15
Mhm.
seconds worth of content, I think I have filmed for close to an hour just to get it right. All those
That's true. Yeah.
transitions, it's difficult. I
Yeah,
will
no,
say.
it's commendable how people spend that much time and that kind of creativity into creating those reels and those short. Creating an entire series is different, but just imagine you have to tell your story in like 10-15 seconds flat. That is really a challenge, and I think it's pretty cool what they're doing. This is that I am still getting my head around it. I don't know if I ever will, but for now I do post once in a way, but that's what it is. And I think there's another factor that, when you're very consistent on Bookstagram, you feel guilty. The one day that you don't post, you're just like, oh my God, I haven't posted today. And, you feel so bad. But then you realize that it's okay. I mean, that's just it. That is what you are. I mean, if you don't post every day, you don't post it. Like, you don't have to feel bad about it. And that's when another phase of being online begins. So,
There's a debate about it as well. Like the old school marketers say that you need to post like every day. The young school marketers are saying that you need to be just consistent. Like if you decide Monday, Wednesday, Friday are the days I will post, stick to that schedule. So because you're
mm,
teaching your audience and the Instagram algorithm what to
right.
expect.
Expect, yeah.
I have been struggling with
That's
Instagram. It's obvious by the way. And this is the last question, I swear. Do you have any advice for anyone who's on the fence about starting their own business?
just go ahead is and keep at it. It's not going to be easy, but that's life, right? I mean, it's I don't nothing is gonna come easy. Like, people think that okay, I have this much experience, I can start a business now, but it's not like that. Like, your experience is going to come handy, but the challenges you face as a business owner are much different because, like you said, you have to don many hats. You're gonna have to deal with the finance, you have to deal with the marketing, you have to be this one person donning all those roles. So you may or may not be good at it. I mean, take help when you have to. Ask your friends, ask people around you. There is no harm, there's no shame. But don't ever stop and don't ever think that this is not something for me. So I think that's one thing. So just keep at it. Maybe go low key when you feel like you're incurring a loss or something. But don't ever stop. Just keep trying, and you will find that foothold. And things will start looking up. So that is, I think, that is something that I'd like to tell people. And another thing is keep things legal, as in, establish your brand or your company in a legit way, because the way people treat freelancers is pretty pathetic.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more seriousness when you reach out to them as a business owner, as a registered company. The kind of behavior and attitude they have is much more professional. So that is another thing that would really make a lot of difference. So I think that's what it would be.
Hey. Thank you so much for being on Chai and Chill, Ghazala.
It was fun. It was fun.
And thank you guys for watching yet another episode of Chai and Chill. To see more such content, subscribe.